Hello and welcome to The Guardian. I pray that you're having a good day. And I'm on this beautiful Saturday. I know that many of you right now, as I'm recording this video, you're watching football. And I'm looking forward to the Florida Gators game tonight. Ole Miss, last time I checked, Ole Miss was winning. And so it's been a good day so far. And my family and I were about to go to a wedding here in a little while. My wife and my son. My wife is singing. My son is playing the piano. And it's one of our good friends. It's their daughter, Izzy, is getting married, and we're proud of Izzy. She's been just a sweet young lady, and we're so proud of her. And I know that her wedding day. I know it's going to be a beautiful wedding. So I want to talk about the benefits of closed primaries. You know, whenever you look at the Republican Party, the Democrat Party, I've talked a little bit about it and before, but this video is completely, going to be zeroed in on that one particular issue, because I believe that issue is very, very important. We're going to be having state elections. We don't have state elections again as far as the state is concerned, whether it's House Rep, Supervisor, Sheriff, State Senate, one of the statewide elected officials. We won't have those again until 2027. Now, next year we have a congressional race next year. I guess all over every congressman in the United States of America next year is up for re-election. A few Senate seats, and in several different states. And of course, the presidential election is next year. And then 2025, there will be elections in 2026, and then 2027 again. And so it's just every year, there's always going to be elections. And I love that. I think it's great, whether it's state, whether it's on the, Jackson, whether it's DC, whether it's city, regardless of where, the elections are. I think it's good. I also think it would be good if we were to, in Mississippi, if we were to close our primaries. And here's what that means. Right now in Mississippi, you do not have to register by party. And a matter of fact, when on election day, whenever we just had our primaries back in August, I could walk in, and if I want to vote in the Democrat primary, I can. If I want to vote in the Republican primary, I can. There's nothing there that stops me. Now, I cannot go vote in the Democrat primary, come back out and go in and vote in the Republican primary. I can't do that. But I can, as a Republican, I can vote in the Democrat primary, or a Democrat can, if they see fit, they could vote in the Republican primary. I think there's a couple different things that are wrong with that. One thing that I think is wrong with that, I look at it from a church side. I pastor a Baptist church. And if we're going to vote on who is going to lead our church, the Methodist church does not get a vote in who's going to lead the Baptist church, because that's a Baptist church. And so only Baptists vote whenever it comes to their church leadership. Same way in the Methodist church. Only the Methodist gets to vote who's going to lead, the Methodist congregation. Whenever you look at businesses, different businesses, they have, they have votes on who's going to lead, their company. And, just let's just use this for an illustration. Take Coastal Electric and Mississippi Power. Those are two totally different power companies here on the Mississippi Gulf Coast. And say they're going to have an election and they're going to vote on who's going to lead, Mississippi Power, who's going to lead Coastal Electric. And let me just stop right here and say, if you haven't already subscribed to the channel, please do so. Please subscribe to the channel, hit that like button, and comment, of course. Always love to hear from people that are watching, the video. And so I really appreciate it very much. So take Coastal Electric and Mississippi Power and say they're going to have an election. I am with Coastal Electric. It's just because of where I live. I don't get to pick. I can't pick Mississippi Power. I have Coastal Electric. Well, if Mississippi Power is having their elections, I'm a Coastal Electric company. I cannot go and vote in the Mississippi Power, elections, because I'm Coastal Electric. If you're Mississippi Power, you can't vote in the Coastal Electric. Take the Harrison County Republican Club. The only people that can vote and we just had a vote just the other day. We voted on a president, vice president, treasurer. We voted on the club board. We voted on all those things. If you're not a member of the Harrison County Republican Club, then you cannot vote. Even if you are a Republican, you still cannot vote for that club board unless you join the club. If you join the club, then you can get a vote. If you don't join the club, then you don't have a vote. And so, which I believe is good. You shouldn't have a vote if you're not a member. If you're not a member of the Rotary Club, you're not going to get a vote on who's leading the Rotary Club. If you're not a member of some of these organizations, you're not going to get a vote on who is leading those organizations. A primary is solely designed to pick out the leadership or who is going to represent that party in the general in the general election in November. And I'm sorry that I'm going to cough a little bit. It has to do with my asthma. I apologize. So whenever you look at the primary, okay, the Republican primary, why should any Democrat be able to vote in a Republican primary to pick who's going to lead the Republican Party in the general election? The Democrats should have no say in who's going to lead the Republican Party. They are a Democrat. Why should a Democrat be allowed to vote in a Republican primary? And that goes vice versa. Why should a Republican be allowed to pick who's going to lead the Democrat Party? If it's me, and if I'm a Democrat or if I'm a Republican, and you can do this in Mississippi, and if I know that one candidate is weaker than another candidate, I'm going to help that candidate win so I can beat that candidate in November. And so, or I'm going to vote for the candidate that's going to, and I've seen Democrats come over and maybe run as an independent or even run as a Republican, to try to peel off, some of those votes to hurt, the Republican Party. And so all I'm saying is this, that we should register by party and then you should vote by party. It's just how it ought to be. And I don't understand, why it would be so hard to put this into play. I want to mention several things on why I think this is important. I wrote an article about this. You can read about it on the Mississippi Conservative Club website. And you go to msconservativeclub.com and you can read, this article that I wrote about fostering, party, cohesion and ensuring candidate integrity. And it's called The Benefits of Closed Primaries. The first thing is this, that whenever you have a closed primary, you preserve party integrity. And so when you have Republicans voting in a Republican primary and you have Democrats voting in the Democrat primary, you're going to ensure party integrity. You're going to ensure that for the Democrat Party. You're going to ensure that for the Republican Party. You're going to ensure that for the Libertarian Party, that you are truly going to get your Democrat candidate and you are truly going to get your Republican candidate and you are truly going to get your Libertarian candidate. That way, when you go into November, now you have the true Democrat candidate versus the Republican candidate versus the Libertarian candidate. And then you go at it head to head then. And then in the general election, if you're a Democrat and if you don't like who the Democrats pick, then you vote in the Republican. You could vote for the Republican if you want. I'm not telling you who to vote for in the general election. I believe that you should be able to vote for whoever you want to in the general election. But whenever it comes to the primary, that's why they are called a Republican primary. That's why they're called a Democrat primary. If that's not what they are, then we shouldn't call them that. We should just have a general election. And but that's not what they are. In August, it is a primary, and a primary is designed for each party to pick out their candidate to represent them in November, which is very, very important. And so if that's not what we're going to have, then we shouldn't waste all of that time, effort, and energy into primaries when they're not truly primaries. And so we should just focus on the general election. But that's not what I want to do. What I want to see happen is I want to see registration. Each and every voter that is a registered voter registers by party, and then in the primary, they vote according to their party. If you're a Democrat, then you vote in the Democrat primary. If you're a Republican, then you vote in the Republican primary. And so what you're doing is you're preserving party integrity, which I think is very important. And I would think that, if I'm a Republican, I want to preserve party integrity. If I'm a Democrat, I want to preserve party integrity, no matter which party I'm a part of. To me, this just makes perfect sense. I don't see how anyone would be opposed to this, personally, because you're preserving party integrity for all parties so that you can have each political party can pick their candidate to represent them in November. And like I said earlier, if you're a Republican and if you don't like the Republican candidate and if you want to vote for the Democrat in the general election, that's fine. That is why it is called a general election. And so that, which is very important. But the election before the general election, at least here in Mississippi, they are called a primary. It is not a general election. It is a primary. It is a Republican primary. It is a Democrat primary. And therefore, Only those that are registered by that party should be able to vote in that party. And so I am for 100% for the legislators in Jackson making this small change and asking people and requiring people to register by party. This also helps us clean up our rolls. And so, you have a lot of people on these rolls that shouldn't be there. And they are to be taken off the rolls. And this will really help, whenever it comes to cleaning up a lot of these voting rolls. And that'll help when it comes to voting fraud as well. Making sure that only registered voters are voting, only alive registered voters are voting. Because there's a lot of people, and this doesn't go on in Mississippi as much as it might go on in other places. But you have a lot of people registering that have no business registering. Now, we did have an incident in Mississippi in the last election where in Hinds County they extended the voting from 7 o'clock to 8 o'clock, which I think is wrong. And the voting should have ended at 7 o'clock. Now, if you're in line, you're coming from work and you get in line at 6:59, and if it takes until 7:30, I think you should have the right to vote 100%. As long as you were in line before that 7 o'clock, I think that it's fine. And I love to see that. I mean, you have so many people in line that the voting extends even past 7 o'clock. I think that is fine, as long as you're already in line. Now, if you're not in line, then you don't get to vote. You've had several months to plan for this, right? Several months. And if you can't get in line before 7 o'clock, then you shouldn't be voting. But anyway, it preserves party integrity. And I think that's a great thing, whenever it comes to preserving the integrity of a party. The second thing is it prevents external influence. So this goes back to there is no influence from the outside to pick the party's candidate. So the Democrats can't influence the Republicans, and the Republicans can't influence the Democrats, and so which I think is great. Why would any Democrat want a Republican influencing their election, and why would any Republican want a Democrat to influence their election? I don't understand that. Why it's so hard. In this area of making sure that only Republicans vote in the Republican primary and only Democrats vote in a Democrat primary. Listen, I'm a Republican, and I don't want the Democrats, to influence my election. And a Republican and a Democrat shouldn't want Republicans. And why would a Democrat want me voting in their election? And now, in the general election, obviously, that Democrat would love to have my vote. But in the primary, that is why they are called primaries, a Democrat primary, a Republican primary. Why in the primary would any Democrat want a Republican vote or a Republican want a Democrat vote? That shouldn't be the case. Not in the primary. That shouldn't be the case. And so it prevents. Here's what would happen. So it would prevent the Republicans from picking the Democrat candidate, and it would prevent the Democrats from picking the Republican candidate. And so it's just common sense to me. It just makes perfect sense. It preserves party integrity. It prevents external influence. And I'm going to tell you what else it does. It encourages party engagement. If you know that only Republicans are going to vote in the Republican primary, if you know that, then it's going to help get a whole lot more people involved. It's going to step up in the area of the Republicans getting more engaged and more involved, because we know that the Democrat Party is not going to come over and influence. And I would think it would do the same with the Democrat Party. It would help maintain that, as far as that influence, and it would help more engagement. And I believe that there's a lot of people that are not engaged because they think, why does it matter? Why does it matter if I get out and if I work? And because I've heard a lot of people say this, that my vote doesn't count. But once again, I'm going to tell you, ladies and gentlemen, your vote counts and your engagement counts. And we need everybody to get involved and everybody to be engaged. And so if the Republicans know that only the Republicans are going to vote in this primary, it's going to increase party engagement. And the same on the Democrat side. It's going to increase party engagement. I think this is good for both parties. I think it's good for the Republican Party and the Democrat Party. I think it's great if we were to have people to register by party. I think it would be wonderful. I don't see why anyone would be opposed to that unless you want the Democrats to influence the Republicans and unless you want the Republicans to influence the Democrats. Now, if you know that you can't win with just the Republican vote in a primary, I can understand why you wouldn't want, Democrats, or why you wouldn't want it to be closed. I can understand why you would want that crossover Democrat vote to help you win in a Republican primary. So I can understand that. I don't agree with it. I don't like it. I think it is wrong. But at the same time, I can understand why a weak Republican would want the Democrats to come over and vote, and why a weak Democrat would want Republicans to come over and help them as well, because they can't win their party. And so they have to have that influence from the outside. And so if you need the influence from the outside to win in your party, then I think that you're going to fight. You're not going to like this video, because you're not going to want that to happen, because you need the Democrat vote to win a Republican primary, or you need the Republican vote to win a Democrat primary. And so that's why I think that we need to close these primaries. They need to be closed. That way there's no influence from the outside. And so when you close it, you're going to encourage party engagement. And so, which I think is a very good thing. I think it's great. I'm going to tell you something else it does whenever you have these closed primaries. It tailors your outreach and campaign. So now when you have a closed primary, and as a Republican, look, only Republicans can vote for me because I'm registered Republican. I'm running on the Republican ticket. Only Republicans can vote for me. Democrats cannot vote for me. And so now I'm going to tailor my message straight to the Republicans. It helps me as a candidate. It helps me. And so it just helps. And regardless if you're a Republican or Democrat, because if you're a Democrat, now listen, my message needs to be straight for Democrats. And then as a Republican, my message needs to be straight to Republicans. And I'm going after that vote because it is a Republican or it is a Democrat primary. And so it just helps in that area. And so there's a lot of other reasons why. And I would encourage you to go on the website, on the Mississippi Conservative Club website, and read about this. I give several other reasons why. I don't have time in this video to continue on and talking about it, but I would encourage you, and I'll put a link, to the website. I'll put a link to it in the comments. That way you can go and read, and it gives you several other reasons why. But I think that we as Republicans or Democrats, I think that I don't see why anyone would be opposed to this. I don't see why anyone would be against this, why it would help the Republicans pick the Republican, the Democrat pick the Democrat, and then in the general election in November, then yes, head to head and go at it. And as far as, who can get the most votes, and I'm for that 100%. And so, but this is just a introduction into wanting this to happen in Mississippi. Let's register by party. If we're not going to register by party, then why do we even have primaries? Why do we call it Republican primary? Why do we call it a Democrat primary? If it's truly not a primary, then let's just quit. Let's just quit calling it what it is. Let's call it what it is. So either let's close it, or let's just stop calling them Republican primaries, because it's not a Republican primary. If Democrats can vote in a Republican primary, it is not a Republican primary. If Republicans can vote in a Democrat primary, then it is not a Democrat primary. That is not what it is. That is more of a jungle election. It is more of what it is whenever you can have everybody can come in and vote like that. You're not picking your candidate. You have outside influence. It is not a Republican or a Democrat primary. So let's get this fixed. Let's get it fixed. Let's have Republicans voting for Republicans in the primary, and let's have Democrats voting for Democrats in the primary, and then head-to-head in the general election. Thanks for watching the video. I would encourage you to share it with your friends. Let's help get this message out, because this needs to happen in Mississippi. And now let's close our primaries. Thank you for watching on The Guardian. As always, I appreciate it very much. If you haven't already subscribed to the channel, I would encourage you to subscribe, to the channel. Once again, thank you for watching. God bless you, and God bless the great United States of America.